investment and technology. Once again, is Africa the next frontier in investment and technology? We've been looking forward to this almost all the time. Now, in the 21st century, the world has gone digital with technology moving so fast in our day-to-day lives. The question is Africa embracing it, or is it being left behind? Are we embracing it, or are we being left behind? International banks and major organizations are constantly moving their investments from one country to another. Is Africa part of this global village, as we now get concerned? Now, how about artificial intelligence? This is something which we need to take into account, because it's something which is going to be with us for maybe for years and years to come. How will it benefit from artificial intelligence? That is Africa. There are so many questions and that need to be answered in today's program. And with me in the studio is a very, very interesting lady, Dr. Annie Armstrong. Anna Armstrong, founder of AIM. She will let us know what that is. A senior lecturer, finance and FinTech University, that is the University of Greenwich here in East London. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. It's my pleasure being here.
Yeah. Now, you've had that bit of intro when it comes to that. I want to begin with, first and foremost, the summit you attended in Rwanda. And that summit was very interesting. It had something to do with its World Economic Forum Global AI Summit. And you were there, obviously. You gave a lecture there. You talked about AI. You talked about everything. How was it? What was the conclusion of that summit? Was there any benefit to the continent as far as the summit is concerned?
Yes, absolutely. As always with the World Economic Forum, there were many politicians, decision makers, startup entrepreneurs, and different agents who take part in AI. And the key messages of the summit were: the biggest asset that Africa has by far is its young population.
Of course, yeah.
Young people who are embracing digitalization, and that is the future of Africa. So young population is one of the biggest factors shaping AI. Second big factor is renewable energy. Africa has plenty of sun. So empowering data centers by using renewable energy is giving Africa a big edge. It's way cheaper to run a data center in Africa than in some of the Western countries. So the main
it's
point,
way cheaper.
It's way cheaper because renewable energy is cheaper in Africa. Africa
because of the
natural
sun.
Resources, sun, water, and it has a favorable position. And so many countries in Africa are embracing renewable energy. Kenya has a large portion of its energy actually based on renewable energy, and so does Rwanda. Like 90% of Rwandans' energy relies on some of the natural sources. So these are three big factors that are going to shape the future of Africa. Now, how is Africa going to embrace AI and actually get there is the big question. And I have been a member of the working group for Africa that is working on building resilient ecosystems. So to build that infrastructure for AI, there are some conditions, of course, that need to be met, and it requires participation of different regions. So we were discussing a possibility of building regional hubs in different parts of the Africa that are going to collaborate together and come up with joint solutions. Second main point is that Africa does want to take care of their data integrity and protect the data. So they want data centers and data to remain in Africa. So they don't want a situation that foreign companies just come to Africa, utilize the data, use it for big data purposes and take it back home. So data should remain in Africa. And also how to build the cooperation. Who are the main agents that can drive AI development? For example, UK has one of the best ecosystems when it comes to innovation, and I also teach at University of Greenwich, and I'm on advisory board of Artificial Intelligence Lab at Imperial College, and we have actually started a cooperation And I have to say that it's moving in the right direction. So collaboration with universities, collaboration between different regions in Africa, building different accelerators that can support innovation, because there's so many wonderful young people and so many great ideas, but how do we bring that idea actually to realization? That requires a further support. So building that infrastructure with decision makers, with mentors, with potential investment partners. There are so many private equity funds from all over the world looking to support innovation in Africa. And during the World Economic Forum, we have seen several startups that have done extremely well.
The question is, Africa has always had the problem with the funds. This is all possible. The people making decisions and the funds is where we normally disappear when it comes to that. And that is where my biggest problem is. And I think the biggest problems with all the other Africans. We can say, yes, we have the manpower, we have the youth who are educated in that, but when it comes to implementing some of the things we had discussed at these seminars, that is where our biggest problem comes from. We want you to come in and implement them. And that is where, again, the funds are there in Africa, but the implementation, can there be a way in which you can, the Western powers or, people from here can put their foot down and say, we are actually coming to deal with this ourselves?
We have seen a similar situation in many different emerging countries that used to be frontier, but now are at the level of emerging markets going towards developed markets. So building the corporate governance when it comes to investing is just a part of the process. Now, when it comes to investments from venture capital funds and private equity funds, they all have a thorough due diligence processes in place before they deploy capital.
Okay.
For example, we work closely with one of the Japanese private equity funds that have been investing money on behalf of the Japanese government. And they deployed over 300 million in startups all over Africa.
300 million?
Yes, and they're closing the second fund. I met them recently. So there's so many different agents looking to invest in Africa. And Africa actually has so much to offer. By 2050, Africa is expected to have 2.5 billion strong
people.
Population. So that is probably the most attractive market in the world for any large company looking for a consumer.
It is, but the biggest problem that I see, anyway, to go, I want to go a bit further now. You invented what is called you're founder of AIMQB. What's that?
Yes, that is a FinTech company that is promoting financial education and enabling people, including young people, to make financial decisions.
Is this some kind of data, or somebody can go on it and just start something? Or is
yes, we're delivering a group of courses and programs that young people can attend.
It's some kind of a software. That's what I meant.
Yes, it's educational software that is actually connecting and enabling people to make the right financial decisions.
Okay, and how does it work?
Yes, so the concept emerged as I gave different lectures in Hong Kong, in London, in Nairobi, in Berlin, and all these young people who attended the lectures, university students, they had something in common. They want to take control over their financial decisions.
Yeah.
That entire generation worldwide is digitally connected.
Yeah.
And they don't want to outsource those decisions to the third parties, but they want to be empowered to do something themselves. So I got so many good questions, and based on that, I decided to develop a tool that we can scale and offer to a large group of people worldwide. In the past, investing in stocks, securities, financial markets was something that we have seen mainly in the Western countries, in developed countries, in the US, UK, Europe, and so on. But now, with the different tokens and new age of investment, it is becoming a phenomena that is going to spread worldwide. And now we have a world consumer/investor taking part in the process.
Now, is it to be used by individuals or companies, or both?
It will be both B2B and B2C. Individuals can directly subscribe, but if companies want to empower their employees to save and to invest part of their income, of course, they're very welcome to use our tool.
Government as well?
Governments, absolutely. We are very, very happy to cooperate with the governments and to initiate the training program. Yeah. I think that is the key. Education of young people, and especially when it comes to financial decisions, is something that is very important for the government.
Where did the idea come from?
Yes, I gave my lectures. I was working in the city for many years, and I was asked to give elective lectures to students in several cities worldwide. And I really appreciated how interested they were, because I was talking about applied finance, not something from a textbook. And then I realized there is nothing I can use to actually explain the concepts properly. And I started developing something that can deliver everything from investment in equities to how to invest in commodities, what is gold, what is a Bitcoin, is it real, and so on. So out of interest, actually, I started building something for people from all over the world, and actually my cooperation with Africa is very, very fulfilling, I have to say, and the students are very, very bright who attended my lectures. They asked fantastic questions. Yeah,
because it's something new, and things like cryptocurrency, and there is something else as well that you've just mentioned a few minutes ago, cryptocurrency, and these are words which we are learning, and unless you're actually involved with the money market, there is very little knowledge as far as it's concerned, not just to those who are outside the markets, but even those inside the markets themselves. That's why your lectures are very important. How will cryptocurrency help Africa?
Cryptocurrency can play a fantastic role in democratization of funding.
Oh, right.
Assume there is a young student with a fantastic idea, and the student wants to raise funding.
Yeah.
Literally, within some lines of code, they can launch a token.
Okay.
They can tokenize the project. They can write a white paper, they can build a team, they can explain how solid the idea is, and so on. Now, they can utilize the concept to raise funding from other young people from all over the world.
All right.
So they don't even need to talk.
Using the internet, yeah.
They don't need crowdfunding. Is a fantastic concept. And imagine now that opportunity is giving an access to everyone in Africa to take part. They don't have to invest thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
A person can invest $10. But everyone who is interested in the project can become a shareholder.
Oh,
so
right.
If you think about initial coin offering and the potentials that it gives, compare it to initial public offering. You need to list on the exchange. You need a huge business. You need £600,000 to £800,000. You need a large revenue growth, and still the product will be offered only to few.
Okay. Now, the biggest problem with that is that the banks and the governments are not interested and are looking at it as if it's sort of going to damage their income, the way their income comes. Although they might be interested in, the bankers and others could be interested in doing it, but it also lead to financial problems within the banking system. Unless the banks are stable, and the African banks are not that very stable. That is what the genuine worry is.
I believe that FinTech is a real disruptor in the financial industry.
Okay.
We have seen M-Pesa and its impact in various countries in Africa, including Kenya.
Yeah.
So there is definitely the trend towards digitalization and digital payments. Okay. We have also seen in other countries that used to be emerging, such as China, people started using digital payments. Yeah. Many of these people never had bank accounts, So they went straight from holding cash under the bed
to
using digital payments.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't see how that process can stop, especially when Africa has such a young population. Now, when it comes to banks, I think it's a matter of education.
Yeah.
And at what level they will become comfortable. But there is a trend that banks are also digitalizing their processes.
Yeah, but the problem that we have, and I think you've been to Africa, you're aware of this now. Africa doesn't move in a straight line. The lines in Africa are a bit crooked. When someone tells you in Nigeria to go left, make sure that you're watching right. But what I mean here is that the politicians, for example, the political institutions, you're not a politician, so I can't go in details with this. There's a tendency for them to have their own roads that we, citizens of the countries, don't really. They move in it's like they live in another world, another planet, and we live on the Earth while they're in either the moon or somewhere near God. You see, so because it doesn't move in the right in a straight line. It was easier for China, for example, for somebody to come in and create that, and it starts working. But in Africa, I see that difficulty of trying to move it, as you said, with education and so on.
Yes.
You think there could be a way in between?
Okay. Of course, Africa has a number of countries, and there is a lot of fragmentation. Yeah. Now, when it comes to frontier markets,
in currencies,
from in legislations, regulations, taxations, there are many differences. Now, when it comes to frontier markets, from investment perspective, we see it as a benefit of diversification.
All right.
For example, developed markets tend to be correlated.
Okay.
Which means if you want to reduce the risk, you are struggling to find the right way. Because if one market is selling off equity market in the US, it's likely UK is going to follow.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, emerging markets are also getting quite correlated to developed markets. However, frontier markets, they have their own opportunities, their own specifics, and they have low correlation not just with developed markets, but low correlation amongst themselves. So while we are talking about building ecosystems that are going to support the region and 2.5 billion population in the next decades, it is going to happen, of course, in different stages for the different countries in different ways. For example, I believe that there is a huge progress that Nigeria is making. They're training 3 million people in AI.
Yeah.
Their MP for digitalization and AI, Bosun, he's doing a fantastic effort. And exactly what we mentioned, accelerators, he's building in different regions to support and fund the initiatives of young people.
That's if they stay in Nigeria, that's the problem. They're there, they're highly educated and so on, but the rest of the world sort of shares them, and in the end they end up leaving the country. The brain drain of that, otherwise they would, I think they would have been so far away from Africa if that wasn't the case.
I believe that this is just the beginning of the training, and if we look at the experience from other countries that became emerging countries, such as China, I was very fortunate. I was on the board of a company, Aberdeen Asset Management, and we were the largest equity investor in Asian equities during the Chinese growth. So what we have seen is how rapidly the market can grow and develop. And the trend was, of course, to go and study abroad, to have student experience, acquire knowledge in Europe or the US. But as the countries...
The Chinese go back. They go back.
But
Africans...
it was not always a trend. It was not always the trend that they wanted to go back. But because after a number of years, China has enabled the growth, build the middle class that they were planning to build. Now they're more comfortable to be...
They have an upper class as well, a bigger one,
Back home, middle class, exactly. So that is the beauty of the frontier markets. How to build the middle class, which is actually a consumer. How to build a corporate governance to make investors more comfortable to invest. And this is the process that all other emerging market countries have been through.
Okay. Now, there is something here as well, which also tends to, I think, affect Africa's development in a way, and it's sometimes overlooked. The social and cultural issues. You may be highly educated, but culturally and the social issues that affect your tribe, for example. You know, Africa, we have so many tribes, and my tribe says this. And I mean, I know with the currencies, with the money, it's supposed to be a different language, but somewhere along the way, unless certain things are not dealt with in terms of education and saying, okay, regardless of whether you're a Yoruba, Igbo man, or Muganda man, nothing prevents you from doing this. Do we really need to still go back and do some kind of research and make sure that we are aware that the social implication and cultural issues don't really come into way when it comes to that? Because China, it was easier. They speak one language. That is, you're talking about Mandarin. I mean, 1.4 billion people speaking one language. So at the end of the day, that isn't really there. The culture issue they dealt with long time ago, you know, well, Africa hasn't. How do you see that?
We have seen many countries with different cultural backgrounds that have gone through the process of becoming emerging markets. They come from different backgrounds, from different religions, from completely different parts of the world.
Okay, okay.
So when it comes to digitalization, when it comes to financial education, regardless of the tribe or the country, I believe some concepts can really stick.
Money speaks a different language.
I believe there's some concepts that can definitely hold.
Yeah.
And also what I have seen in African countries I visited, there is a drive, there is a motivation.
Yeah.
When it comes to social factor, demographics plays a big factor as well, connection with the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And I believe that that world is moving
We've always
forward.
wanted that. We always want that connection to the outside world, yeah.
And I found out actually a few interesting points from the diversity perspective. I'm also a trustee at One Loud Voice, that is a charity supporting women in their career.
Okay, okay.
And I got back from Rwanda saying 60% of members of parliament are women.
Yeah, in Rwanda. Yeah. I've covered Rwanda.
Exactly, so that is fantastic. So that is cultural factor in Nigeria.
That is because the man on top allows everything. That's the man on top, you know, he has no problem with that. But other men on top may look at it from a different angle.
But the fact is, they're there.
Yeah.
Also, in Nigeria, a large proportion of small business owners are women. I believe over 60%.
Yeah.
So I think in some ways, some African countries can serve as a good example to even developed countries.
Yeah. Now, going to this issue, which has really attracted me so much to, you know, there are women out there who really want to be like you. And to mention this, that you're one of the women who has recognized in the Power 100 Women in London Square Mile. This, by the way, is the Square Mile of London, I should say, one of the most elite areas of the city for those who are working within the city. For somebody to qualify to be part of this group of 100 women within the Square Mile is a big achievement and a big milestone, not just for you, but I think wherever you come from. Now, how did you achieve this? Because it's like that you don't wake up one morning and you suddenly say you're part of the 100 elite in this area. I mean, you qualify there because you've headed the banks, you've headed the HAD funds, you've been everywhere. So you're lecturing, you're doctor. You moved into that circle, which qualifies you to be among the elite within the square miles of London.
I believe one of the main drivers is that I love my job.
Yeah, okay,
I always enjoyed my work.
Okay.
From UBS days to my FinTech company, I'm really doing what I like. And I believe it is a big privilege feeling that you don't work on Saturday when you need to do something for your job.
There was no push from your husband. You have to do this. You have to make sure you reach here, or maybe competing with somebody, looking at other women somewhere and you're saying, hang on a minute, I need to be like her. Is there nothing like that? Because when Thatcher became prime minister here, so many women looked at her and say, hang on a minute, they could be the next prime minister. They entered politics because of her. Is there something of that nature, or it's something that you've grown up with as a child?
I believe my grandfather, he was building a banking system of former Yugoslavia, where I was raised.
Okay.
So when I was 5 years old, he was always giving me lessons on what currency to invest. And 5-year-old, of course, he has no idea what it even means.
To invest,
So every afternoon I had a lecture on banking and finance, and I think I just learned to love it. I really enjoy that work. And now I really believe that sharing the knowledge and educating people in different countries is the way forward.
Now, is there something that, for example, it's like loopholes left and right that women should avoid? Because you see somewhere along the way, I mean, I remember I used to play boxing years ago, and a young boxer, amateur boxer coming up was telling me, what do I do? What should I look out for? How should I guard? How should I, trying to ask questions on how he can improve his performance. And my key thing was always train hard, make sure you are fit enough, because you can't avoid the punches. They'll land on you anyway, whether you want it or not. You're in the ring. But is there something that women who are viewing us now can take account and say,
yes, absolutely.
Okay, avoid this type of movement somewhere, so that you don't land in a punch?
Yes, they try to tell us somehow that
you're not good enough.
No, that we can't have it all. Like, oh, you need to do your work. What are you going to do if you become a mother? Should you postpone because of your job and something like that? No, I don't think so. I believe that we should have it all. And being a mother of 3 children is one of the most rewarding experiences of my life.
I saw the thing as well. How do you manage, by the way? You also have 4 dogs at home.
Yes.
Isn't that, oh gosh, it's like you have, your hands are exactly full. And when I read that, I said, hang on a minute, how is she managing this? 3 kids, 4 dogs? I think we can have 1, but 4.
Yes. I have to say the atmosphere is dynamic at all times.
I wonder.
And before, when children were smaller, I was telling them, sometimes I felt like, do I spend too much time at work? Do you want me to be more at home? Because they were always organized doing things. They were always very, very busy. And they said, whatever you do,
just go ahead.
You cannot spend more time at home. Just do the work. So, yes, I had a big support from them in the process.
But the thing is, looking at the loopholes, obviously the journey when you're going up has got, you must have stepped somewhere at a stone somehow, and it maybe put you a little bit down, and then you learn from it. There's always something somewhere where you're saying, okay, journeys are never that smooth up to the top. Is there something someone can take from this interview and say, hang on a minute, I think I've got to watch out for that? If you had to write a book, for example.
Yes, I think that would be, that could probably be an interesting book, I have to say. So yes, I would say always bounce back. There are always challenges, there are always disappointments, more disappointments that you can even forget.
Men telling you you're not good enough.
Yes.
And bosses coming in and look at you and as if you've committed a crime already, and yet you haven't. Issues that slowly most women come across.
Keep on pushing forward. You know where you want to get, and don't let them stop you.
Okay, back to Africa. You've seen what's going on in Africa. Okay, women are making their journeys up. There are lots and lots of this, because we can't obviously, when you look at both, because Asian markets, the Asians, the Indonesia, Malaysians and others have done very well, and you know how those markets are. And then you look at the African market, there should be something in between there that is preventing Africa from becoming the next Asian?
No, I think Africa is on its way to become the next big frontier and emerging market.
Okay.
It will happen at different stages for different countries in Africa, but I believe it is happening over the next decade. Infrastructure for AI is in the process of being built. Africa just needs to figure out how to integrate some of those platforms between different countries to leverage for more consumers. But thinking that the most populous country in the world by 2050 will be Nigeria, we can just see that the market is ever growing and expanding.
I know several of them are now putting their hands up.
And I have to say, when it comes to the new concepts and developments, I'm so impressed. For example, one of the fashion designers from Nigeria, Adi Bakare, I have a huge respect for his effort and what he has done and how he succeeded. I had the pleasure to meet another founder of the company, Darlington Akoge from Ghana. When I saw AI in healthcare that Ghana has, I believe that many countries could just look with envy.
I think with Ghana, unlike Nigeria, that Ghana has a lot of the expatriates, who most of them who have been working abroad are back home. Most of them, of course. My boss is still here, but so many Ghanaians look so much to invest back home, which other African countries haven't, and Nigerians are trying to, but as well. But there is that element of, okay, we have achieved here, but is the government supporting us? Because that's where most of us Africans are finding difficult. You want to do something, but somewhere along the way, it's like someone is pulling your leg down.
But I believe governments are also looking to build affluent consumer. We have seen Chinese government has been trying for over a decade, and they got there. So I don't think that is in contrast with what governments are trying to achieve. And when it comes to innovation in Ghana, I have seen that, I think last year, Imperial College opened a campus for innovation in Ghana.
In Ghana. Yeah.
So what more support and collaboration one can have from the government? Embracing collaboration with one of top 2 universities in the world.
That is great. But what can I say? I think I'm trying not to be negative here in what I'm trying to bring forward, because I seem to be seeing most of the loopholes. And when I get people who come here and have done that, and I say, okay, how can somebody navigate those loopholes? Because the key thing is cryptocurrency is here, this one is here, everything is here, AI has arrived, and so on. But it's just a question of, why don't we take it on board? What's preventing us? And that is why I'm thinking, okay, maybe people like you can jump in quickly and say, I know the trick. This is how it is, like what you invented.
Collaboration. I think it will happen faster through collaboration and building of these ecosystems. So at the University of Greenwich, for example, we have developed many good relationships with universities in Africa. And we are looking to promote and train the talent in Africa to deliver those solutions. Now we have to be also understanding of many governments all over the world struggling to regulate blockchain. Many regulators were not sure what they're looking to regulate and what parameters to be using in the whole process. But I believe that Africa is on the right way, and I don't see how it can be lagging behind for too long with the population, with digitalization, and most importantly with drive that I saw and motivation amongst the young people. They really want their countries to improve. And
with the way America is behaving at the moment, with all respect not to the Americans but to the President Donald Trump, he looks at it from a different angle, and he has brought in America first, which the statement he's using everywhere, either it's America or not America. That means the part of the technology and everything that will have gone to the third world countries. You know, he started with the funds, they're gone. Is there something that, for example, these from the West can easily pick up and say, okay, if they decided to do America first, at least we can come in, especially when it comes to the revolution involving AI and involving all these issues of cryptocurrencies and so on.
I understand.
Can they just jump in now?
I believe that...
because there's a hole there, and the Chinese are using it.
There is a hole, and from what I have seen, Microsoft is investing a lot in Kenya.
Yeah.
I believe that many large corporations from the West are looking actually to open the offices and to collaborate with the local markets. And it's not something that is done at a high government level, although I believe that IMF should be a bit less strict with the debt repayments.
It's the companies rather than...
Companies. It is the enterprises that will make the change, not necessarily just government, because you don't have centrally controlled economies to that extent. And we have seen that there is entrepreneurial spirit. We have seen there is a huge appetite for digitalization and also for knowledge. Young people are looking to learn, and they can learn from their digital devices and actually include themselves in the global AI and digitalization movement. And the companies we have seen in Rwanda, some of the key players of the largest tech companies in the world, many of them from the States,
in Rwanda,
have been at the summit in Rwanda. And this is exactly what I was talking, that we are part of that working group to build the ecosystems that can support different groups and countries to excel faster.
Now, there is an argument that the ecosystem that is being built will affect Africa, will be left out, because when the industrialized countries industrialized, at the time, the world hadn't reached the level of the way the ecosystem was damaged. But now that we're telling us to regulate the ecosystem, when somebody in America is saying, dig more oil, do this, the thing is, it's like, okay, how are we going to help be part of the ecosystem when other people are not?
People are looking to invest in Africa.
Yeah.
I was at several events that actually they did not know how to deploy capital in Africa. So matching really the money now at this point, mainly private markets, such as private equity funds and other participants. But the next stage is to develop further capital markets, stock exchanges. Companies will grow and get listed. We have seen development in China. We have seen development in India. So next one will be different stock exchanges in Africa. And the large money, institutional money, will start embracing more and more investment in bonds and equities from different African countries, because they need new markets.
Of course.
We did speak about markets being fragmented, sometimes opaque. But on the other side, opportunity for growth is way higher.
Couldn't education be the first thing to do there? Because when you think of investment and you think of the new markets and all that, the failures of the stock markets being non-existing in Africa, when it comes to stocks and shares and all that, the most difficult thing is we are not educated on that level. And education is the key, because somebody opens up his company, is successful, but there's individualism in it. He's not sharing it with anybody. Then tomorrow he dies and the company goes down with him.
That's why we created an educational group of programs that can enable and empower people to make meaningful financial decisions with the right knowledge and with the right information. Because many people just follow the trends, looking who is buying and then following. They're naive investors, and they're always bound, in most cases, to actually lose money. So empowering them to understand what is equity market, what is private market, what is the risk.
In this education that you do, do you also come up with the process of educating the people on insurances? Because insurance is a major issue when you talk about whatever is happening, and Africa has practically, you can drive a car from one end, from maybe Ghana, Accra, up to Uganda without insurance. You can't run a company without insurance. Do you incorporate that when you're teaching?
Absolutely, that is a part of financial literacy education.
Okay.
So that is a very important part. And also, even for countries that introduced insurance on a government level.
The thing is, it's not enforced. That's the problem.
But even
it's
if it is enforced, there is a large country, one of the largest actually, emerging markets. And I spoke to some of the decision makers, and they asked us to help because they do have life insurance policies, but they're worried.
Yeah.
People will not know how to use them in the worst case scenario.
Okay.
So there is a reason why the policy is in place and what to use, how to utilize that money in the best way, if ever needed.
Can insurers work with the stock exchange or with the emerging markets, or those who are trying to, because it's one thing you insuring your company on a stock exchange, but then making sure that someone you're dealing with has no insurance, and if things go wrong, I mean, you can get your money back and he won't. There is that element, as you're saying, with education. It comes as a package. Does it come as a package?
It does come as a package, and I believe that insurance is also linked with technology now.
Oh, right.
So I believe that some African countries have a chance to actually jump from no insurance to insurtech side.
Oh, right.
And that is almost a real-time insurance. So if you want to buy insurance for the car, you can actually monitor if you pass through the red light, your insurance payment is going to increase.
Okay.
If you have no problems with your driving, it is going to drop, as opposed to now that is reviewed once a year based on some 10 to 12 questionnaire, which is inefficient. So one can use really more data points to get a better and more accurate insurance policies. Or some companies are using insurances. If your flight gets cancelled, you automatically get payment.
But that's in the Western world.
But that is the next stage.
Okay.
That is, I think, a very, very next stage of development, because most flights here, if you miss the flight for no fault or they cancel the flight, you need to really chase them to get your money back.
Yeah, to get your money back.
So I think that building the infrastructure and ecosystems by using new technology, higher end technology, is the way forward for Africa.
Was that included during the summit in Rwanda? Was it? Because usually there is that element of we implement this, but then we say, okay, you deal with your insurance. You don't deal with your insurance as you know, people who are bringing in the investment and so on. And then somebody who is here is not getting any, is not being insured properly. Was that implemented into the agreements that were done in Rwanda?
There was not much discussion about insurance itself, I have to say. It was
yeah.
more general about FinTech, digitalization, data centers, renewable energy, how to build the ecosystems.
Yeah.
But on a practical level, I think there are different ways to implement it.
Yeah, because you see, the reason why I'm saying that is that there's a huge demonstration that has been going on in Kenya, in Nairobi, for a very long time at the moment, and it's to do with, of course, the youth. There's a lot going in, the Jazzees, as they are called, and companies that have invested in Kenya are now trying to look at how they can get their money, because most of the buildings are, you know, not all of the buildings, but I'm saying because if something is damaged right now, the government of Kenya is meant to be, you know, and all those Africans who never put insurances in their buildings are now going to struggle because the demonstrators have done all that. Now, that's what I'm saying. Look, I'm looking at it from that angle. Somebody from here his insurance here and is invested in Kenya will get his money back. But an African who's been based in Nairobi with no insurance.
That is a big industry, actually. Mm-hmm. And that is a big industry. Mm. And having different contests and hackathons where young people can come up with solutions and get funded. Mm. That industry is definitely ready for implementation.
It is.
I know that they have done quite a bit of effort, and we work closely with University of Nairobi.
Yeah, okay.
And Dr. Ali, who is teaching there, is trying to integrate African universities and give them the topic, and they can be looking for solutions all over Africa, and then the best solutions will be getting the funding. So I think that Africa can organize all that internally.
Yeah, I think Asia and Africa, we're talking about collaborations. There's too much cooperation between the West and Africa, but the collaboration between Africa and Asia is a
I
huge,
think there is a lot.
ballgame.
There is a lot of cooperation, and
Other than China, when you get China out
Japan,
of the way,
we were just talking.
I'm looking at Malaysia, Indonesia, and because those people, you come to us. That's what one of them was telling me. You come to us. We don't come to you. Well, as China has come to us. So I don't know. I don't know how those India, Malaysia, Bangladesh, and all those other smaller ones within those regions, the tiger economy as they're called. I don't know how. You've worked with their markets. You know what it is, Hong Kong and so on. Are they coming, or are they waiting for us to go and discover them?
The point is, they built good companies
over there, yeah.
And Africa is doing the same.
Okay.
So once you build, India has done the same. They have some of the best companies in the world. So if you build good companies with good management, with processes that work, with good corporate governance, these companies can actually get money through capital markets because they will meet the requests of different analysts who are doing due diligence reviews of the companies.
Okay.
And it's not only that these companies have to go out and search for money, because I believe they can be a good diversifier in investors' portfolio. So once they build themselves to the particular standard, investors will be looking to invest in them. They will be sending analysts to perform
have a look,
due diligence. Where is this?
Diligence,
That's what I was doing for 10 years in Asia.
Right.
So we would go to visit management of companies, the CEO, CFO, what are the numbers? Do you have a factory? Where is the factory? What is this reception? How are you spending your money? So I just expect Africa to get there over the next couple of years, because we had the case of China. Initially, investors were scared to invest in China. Then they invested in China, and they lost so much money because they did not understand the Chinese companies. Then they figured it out. And they made fortune. So Japanese companies are also managed. They have been managed in a very different way. So investors were sending analysts figuring out how the processes work, how many women you have on the boards, and so on. So I think we have seen from different countries how they got embraced in international portfolios. And I think Africa is definitely going to be the next.
How about investments from within? Because one of the things that Mandela, the late president of South Africa, once said is that before you do anything, you start from home. Now, if you don't have enough money, you can save money, get some money to do something, whatever you want to do. You save and get something, maybe 5 years or so, you do something from your own savings, rather than expecting someone else to come in and give you money to invest. So if there are no investors, that would mean you can find the money from within to invest in those things. I don't know whether you look at those when you're looking at Africans and say, hang on a minute, I want to give you a bottle of water, a second bottle of water, but I need you first to get the first bottle of water. So I see the first one. That means you're showing me you're serious to get, then I'll give you the second one. Other than you coming in and bringing all the 2 bottles of water, then I'll sit back and just enjoy the drink. I hope you get my message.
Yes, absolutely, I get the message. And that's why we teach financial literacy.
Okay.
And that's the point behind financial education. That people understand the beauty of savings, the beauty of compounding. If you save £10 a day over the certain time period, you are a millionaire. So everyone with good spending habits can actually create a portfolio where they can invest and make money and preserve their financial capital. On the other hand, we have seen many of the sports stars. They make millions and they lose millions, from boxers to footballers to NBA basketball players. So it's about the knowledge and understanding how to behave towards your money and your portfolio.
That's where education comes in.
Exactly.
I've seen them as well. Some have lost a lot of money and they end up back on the streets. Now, you've talked about Africa in the next 5-10 years. How do you see the vision of Africa in the next maybe 25 years? The vision is there.
Vision is
but the approach to that vision, is it there?
Yes, I believe that once there is a vision and there is a good implementation plan, and we have seen that Africa is rapidly building the resources, is rapidly building renewable energy resources, is definitely going to be the world leader when it comes to the data centers.
Okay.
Not just for local needs, but also for the Western companies that can have data centers.
Unless we get, the datas are coming in and they're built by us, to be managed by us, then the chances of us developing are higher because of the databases that we have. But when you don't have the databases and they're here in London, then there's very little chance because somebody here in London is controlling the data.
No, the whole point is that data remains in Africa.
Okay.
That also trusted data sources are being built. And this is how different agents can participate in development of AI tools based on reliable domestic data. Because there was actually...
because it's on the ground.
Almost every speaker in Rwanda was saying we want to avoid colonization through data. Because data is new oil, as we know.
Exactly,
giving the ownership of the data to Africa, or if they want to share the data with others, it has to incur some cost, the fee, or it has to be organized. Let's say each of us owns our own data, and if we want to sell the data for some study or whatever, I want to get paid for my data being shared, for example. So the same principle should hold in Africa.
That's the way forward. You see that as something that is achievable. You think it is achievable?
I think it is absolutely achievable, and I think that you have all that you need, all the tools. You have the renewable energy, you have an AI power, you are building new unicorns, you're having a huge progress when it comes to biomedicine and the healthcare, payment systems. You have a consumer.
The consumers are there.
So I just see that you have it all.
Now, in less than maybe 20 words or something, how would you sum up the continent as a whole and what the kind of future? I know you have said that already, but I'm looking at maybe a couple of words. Hooray, hallelujah, what? I don't know. How do you sum it up?
Apart from fantastic energy, enthusiasm, and great vibes, where people are motivated to build something better and create some success in their countries, to being the whole process hugely enjoyable. Okay.
There's something I didn't talk about, but I think at some point it's something connected with the churches. The way the churches have, if you've noticed this at all when you're there, because we've got so many churches, and we've got, could this be as part of the, if somebody passes through the churches, can success come in if you educate those who are, say for example, the religious leaders as well, in terms of development, because they are teaching religion to massive lots of people, but they are not educated in terms of investment, in terms of shares and so on. Is there a way that can move?
I think that is an excellent idea, because I think financial empowerment is linked to so many aspects of human life, including the healthcare and other aspects. That we should absolutely do something about that and bring the religious leaders to our financial course.
To bring them to a financial course.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to say thank you very, very much for coming here.
It's a huge pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
About it. And I hope and pray that the information we've received from you here today will help the African continent in terms of development. And you out there, you took it seriously, especially when it comes to financial investment, savings, and so on. Definitely, that's something I've learned, and I probably start putting £1 away every day. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much. Pleasure.
Okay. I just want to say thank you very much for being with us on today's Africa Speaks, and I hope we'll be together again next week for another edition of Africa Speaks. Thank you, and may God bless you all.